And has taken care of our business. We're now in open session, and I would entertain a motion for student discipline.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the findings of the board in student case number 22, 22, 26, 52, and 27, 53.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Before we go any further, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Geddes is attending to family matters. Mrs. Carey and Mrs. Halloran will not be with us this evening also, and they'll be back soon. So we miss them already. That brings us to item number 4, our consent agenda, which we are going to amend by deleting item 7C, which will bring back to a meeting in the future, and that's, I think, Laura Lee Fellowship House with the recommendation. We're going to delete that, take that off, and bring that at a future meeting. Are there any other additions or corrections? Seeing none, may we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. I was going to say, in that, we have something, our membership dues for the Illinois Associated School Boards, which we normally take out, but we put them in there because it's an ongoing expense. We're not trying to hide anything, but that was in there. Usually someone will vote no, but no one did this evening, so we're very happy about that. So that goes through. Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to item number 5, or public comments. Who do we have this evening? There's a limit on the time of public comments, okay, and she'll let you know. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I am Tierra Brown, a former District 118 student and former employee of Northridge Middle School. I am now the in-school director for Ubuntu, as well as the direct mentor for our 7th and 8th grade scholars at Northridge. And it has been an honor to work with such amazing students. This school year, I've had the opportunity to not only open the minds and eyes of our students, but I've had the opportunity to open mine as well through various lessons and activities throughout the school year. Since October, I have been working diligently with our students to build relationships with each of them as their mentor, while also focusing on their individual relationships as well. Watching them blossom out of their shells, finding their voices within, learning and internalizing more about their culture, and having the courage and confidence to stand up for what they believe in has been a beautiful sight to see. Throughout the year, our scholars have learned a lot about mental health awareness, social and verbal skills, how to properly debate without being argumentative, and different activists and leaders within the African American culture. Since a young age, I have always had the heart, motivation, and passion to work with the youth in our community. Growing up, I had amazing mentors in my life that pushed me to be a better version of myself, despite my adolescent mistakes, and now, at the young age of 31, it is an honor to give back to our students in the same way and more. Similar to many African American students, I was a quote-unquote good student on high honor roll that was criminalized for my actions, my bad attitude, and sense of entitlement. I am truly thankful for the teachers and staff that wanted to get to know more about me and who built genuine relationships. These same staff members and teachers wanted the best for me, so instead of tolerating my behavior, they corrected it and never gave up on me. I am thankful for staff members like Marty Limbaugh, Jenny Feliski, Clint Cunningham, Belinda Smith, Mark Bases, and Mr. and Mrs. Howard Baker, to name a few, that built relationships with me that still are lasting to this day. So as I stand here today, I can proudly say thank you, because just as my family was behind me, so was my educational family. Without them and their belief in me, where would I be? I graduated from DHS May of 2009, shortly after I graduated from DACC with my associates in accounting. I furthered my education by graduating from the illustrious Clark Atlanta University with my bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in finance. I later received my master's degree in entertainment business from Full Sail University in 2017. Now I am the first Black-owned dance studio here in Danville, Illinois, and in 2021 I expanded my business by starting a dance studio in Urbana. As an educated Black woman with many accomplishments under my belt, I too had to deal with the microaggressive and passive-aggressive behavior from staff members that see me as just a TA. I've sat back and watched staff members belittle me and other staff members while making slick and underlying comments. But now I can say that I am thankful for the voice I have because not only am I utilizing it, but I am able to properly teach other students how to as well. 2 weeks ago, 6 students from Northridge Middle School came to the board meeting to speak about their experience while matriculating through District 118. The most disheartening thing about this entire experience is that instead of trying to find a solution to fix the overall problem, the staff at Northridge decided to disregard their feelings and use their tears to deflect instead of stepping back to look themselves in the mirror to truly understand the scholar's point of view. Majority of the staff focus solely on the teacher's feelings and emotions and care little about how the kids felt, and this truly showed in their actions the next day. What happened to today is a new day, new grace and mercy? Are students the only groups that's supposed to follow this mantra? When are we going to hold teachers and staff accountable for their actions? When are we going to call out and reprimand staff that are in the wrong? When are we going to stop generalizing everything and become more direct to help fix the problem? It was insinuated that those students couldn't have been intelligent enough to write their own speeches, articulate their feelings, or form words that like perpetuate and microaggression without the help of another staff member. Staff blatantly ignored the overall message the students delivered, and instead of listening to learn, educate, and grow, they listened to respond. They heard what they wanted to hear and pushed the narrative that the students called them racist. The word racist was never mentioned, and for those that missed the meeting 2 weeks ago, please go back and watch the meeting started at 8 minutes and 52 seconds. There was also talk about why the students didn't follow the proper chain of command, and I'm here to say they have. How many witness statements need to be written about specific teachers with detailed information before something is actually done? When will District 118 stop using the excuse of not having teachers and begin to directly communicate and reprimand those that are clearly not here for our students? Over the years, I have witnessed students report issues about certain teachers and their behavior has yet to be changed. We can't expect our children to grow and change if our teachers and staff members aren't expected to. During this school year alone, I've had the following situations brought to me that have been documented within Ubuntu. 1, a teacher openly expressing she didn't understand why we were having a Black History Month assembly. Teachers openly using the N-word. A white teacher allegedly joking with her students that she is the blackest among her Black students and vocally agreeing with another Black student that Black people do too much. Teachers not speaking to them and treating them differently because they spoke out at the board meeting. And the list goes on. But my question to you all today is how many witness statements need to be written to fix the problem? How many reports need to be made to come up with some type of solution? Is it truly being filed in the teachers' reports? Are they actually being reprimanded for their actions? I'm here today not to bash or expose, but to shine light on an issue that has been an issue since I was attending District 118. I am also here to shine a light on the positivity Ubuntu has displayed during this short time within the district. I have watched students grow more and more each day, and without this program, we are proving that our students and their feelings do not matter. Without your help and your voice, we are showing our students that change isn't possible and their voices do not matter. 2 weeks ago, 6 students were here to speak up and stand for the many Black and brown students that couldn't stand up and speak for themselves. Today, I am here standing in the gap for those 6 students because no one is listening to their cry for help.
Time's been way over. Are you almost done?
I am almost done.
Okay, thank you.
Today, I am here standing in the gap for those 6 students because no one is listening to their cry for help. We need change, and we're demanding that change happens now. Before I conclude, I want to speak briefly to the parents. It is time for parents to begin to advocate for their children, become more active in their children's educational journey, communicate more with their teachers, do weekly.
I'm sorry, you said you were almost done.
I have 2 sentences left.
But you said you were almost done.
I have 2 sentences left. Become more active in their children's educational journey. Communicate more with their teachers, do weekly, monthly check-ins, send emails, and document everything. I had the privilege of having a mother that couldn't just take my word or just take the teacher's word. She investigated the issue, and if she felt like nothing was being handled, she would email and CC teachers and administration until it was handled. Skyver should be your best friend because you have the opportunity to check your child's attendance, behavior, grades, and etc. It is time for our parents to step up more because we can't do it on our own. We need you. Thank you.
it up there. Okay. Hello, I'm Holly Weiss from Garfield.
Sarah
And we're going to have something to share. She's going to pass out a flyer. We're here representing Garfield Elementary School.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you're aware, we are closing at the end of this school year, but we have decided to make the best of it and have a celebration, a tribute to our school. And on June 1st, we would like to invite everyone, especially former and present staff, students, and all of you, to come. It's an open house from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We're going to have cake and lemonade provided. Thank you to Mr. Hart, who is helping us out with that. And we have green carnations that will be handed out to everyone who attends, donated by Anchor Florist, whose children who went through Garfield School. Also, we have a former student, Kayla, who owns her own cake business. I don't know if you've heard of Kayla's Chick Treats. So everyone that comes will be put in a drawing and win a $60 cake of their choice. There will be sidewalk chalk bubbles, face painting for the kids, a memory walk in the gym of past photos. Bud's Barbecue, who's always been there for our fun nights, whose kids also went through Garfield, will be set up for food to purchase. There we will have souvenirs. We have mugs, cups, tote bags with Garfield School on it for people to purchase. And John Jansky has committed to coming to our stage at the end of the evening, probably around 7, to do a surprise painting for everyone who attends. And we just hope that everyone comes. It'll be a fun night and help us celebrate our school. Thank you.
Bye, gazelles.
Good evening, Board. Molly Bailey, Director of Special Education, and I just want to do a quick public thank you to the Knights of Columbus. Each year, they donate money to students with disabilities and to the We Can Do Anything Club at Danville High School, and we just received that check again, so I just want to thank them and everyone else who donates their change when the Knights of Columbus are standing out there doing their drive, because it certainly is appreciated.
That it? Thank you for your public comments. That brings us to item number 6, extracurricular proposal.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name's Kim Papps, Director of Human Resources. We have Ms. Rankin, Director of Business and Finance, and Mr. Basie's here tonight as well, the AD for the Athletic Director for the district. And tonight we have for you a little information on the extracurricular proposals. You have a nice little memo in there for you of information put together by our extracurricular committee, which was both DEA members and the administration. What we were working on and put together here is part of what we agreed to do in the newly signed contract for the 2021 contract that we adopted last summer. And pieces of this are, one, the salary schedule, the payment of extracurriculars. We worked to align with the salary schedule. We also worked to look at the extracurriculars and see what is most relevant for each building and what we want the activities to look like for each building. The reason we have this tonight is because per the IESA and IHSA, we do have to have extracurriculars adopted by a June deadline. So in this lovely packet, again brought to you by the extracurricular committee, we have a difference asking to align the extracurricular payment to salary schedules, and we've put together a few activities that are more relevant for our students at this time. Any questions you have, we are here to answer. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
how much is this, there'll be a difference in cost from year to year. What's the increase in the cost?
So the increase actually, thank you.
You're
Mrs.
welcome.
Papps. So the recommendation is that the base stipend, the percentage that extracurricular is used to calculate, be increased to step 1, lane 1 of the salary schedule. But as we were doing our research, what we found is that a lot of the positions that were accounted for weren't being filled. So the difference in the cost would be $50,002.
Okay. And that's just to fix the situation right now, okay?
To fix, explain, tell me what you mean.
Well, to compensate our extracurriculars.
Correct.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong here. This keeps up. This will
Continue with
Yeah,
our salary
continue
schedule,
on.
correct.
Okay, so we don't have to necessarily revisit this every time.
Correct.
Because it's based on a different structure.
It'll just always be based on that first step.
That's what
step
I'm
one.
looking for
Yep.
here, that
So
some-
we won't be back at all. Well,
I'll
I
say
mean,
it.
unless we need to. But what this would help us is instead of coming back every year, it would just continue to move with the salary schedule with step 1, lane 1.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the $50,000 isn't every year, it's just because of this first time.
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
because it's
and then
a
it'll
different-
just stay. Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
I want people to realize
yes,
that
that's
this isn't.
It will not
Oh,
be 50,000 every year. No. It just
Thank you.
changes with the continual raises that we have.
We get it, okay.
Yeah. That's a good piece to
Yeah.
point out. Yes.
We get it, that's why I don't see a lot of questions here, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good with that.
Okay.
What is our, let's see. Yes, it is an action item. So, let's act.
Yeah.
I move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. How about now? Any questions or comments? I think it's a great idea.
We think it's a great idea.
You think it's a great idea?
This will be great for everybody. And then the second part is we'll come back in June, as Ms. Papp said, we've unboxed this incredible thing where there's positions that aren't being used, that are a little bit outdated, that are called different things, that people are filling. And so when we come back in June, we'll have those for you guys, the ones that are being renamed, that are new and fresh for kids, that'll reach more kids that haven't been involved in extracurriculars. So that'll be our second step. And our third step will come later in the summer for second semester things that we kind of missed in this. And it's a pretty big undertaking. The DEA, as I'm co-chair, and the board have worked tremendously together. It's been very productive. We've had great meetings, and we couldn't be happier. So we appreciate it.
Okay, we appreciate all the work on it. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for the collaborative work on that. We certainly do appreciate that. Item number 7. A, Gateway Family Services.
Good evening, Board of Education. I'm Kelly Truex, Director of Educational Support Programs. And I'm here tonight with Michael Remley, and he is from Gateway Family Services. And he would like to partner with us and work with Northridge in the school year 22-23 to provide social emotional learning opportunities to the students, parents, and staff. Molly Bailey and Miss Brooks and I met, and he gave us kind of a smorgasbord of things to pick, and we feel like we worked and made a customized plan for Northridge, and I'm gonna let Mr. Remley kind of explain something about what he would be providing. It is at a cost of $104,000, and it will be paid through ESSER funds, and it goes the entire school year.
So as we know that COVID has had a huge impact on all of us, and we wanted to provide intensive services to kids and families. And one of the ways that we want to do this is with Northridge. We want to come in and provide support to kids through weekly groups, offering 10 hours of group services where we focus on positive life virtues while teaching them self-regulation strategies to help them be successful not only in the classroom but out in the community as well. We would be also with those groups be teaching leadership strategies. So while I'm participating in a group as active participant, then I come back for the second group and I'm shadowing this group take place, and then the third time I'm the facilitator. I'm helping facilitate the groups. I'm enhancing those leadership opportunities for kids in Northridge. We'll be using a lot of community resources and positive stories of leaders in the high school of how they're implementing these virtues as well, while we're teaching self-regulation strategies. How do we navigate tough emotions and tough situations at school? How do we regulate ourselves when others around us are not regulated? We'll be offering quarterly trainings because we know this has been tough for teachers and parents, and so giving them tips and strategies on how to address this as well. In addition, we want to get creative on how we regulate the brain. You have a brain in front of you, and we know that it's important for us to regulate the brain before we can relate to the person, before we can ever move to that spot in our brain for reasoning. And so we are going to provide brain booster kits to help strategize those specific parts of the brain that have been impacted, and how do we help regulate that so that they can be present for class. And then we'd also be providing clinical consultation for some of those tricky behaviors. How do we help the teacher teach? How do we help them do what they need to do in the classroom? And so we'd provide the clinical support for them, as well as staff self-care days coming and making sure that they're taken care of, so that we don't also have a teacher crisis where we don't have staff because they're so burnt out. So that is our approach, and we are very excited to get to partner with you for this opportunity.
This will be a service agreement, just like our other community agencies like Laura Lee, Community Action, It Takes a Village, Project Success, and now we have Gateway Family Services. So again, this will be with ESSER funds. They will be required to provide us with the things that are in the contract. We have a list of agency responsibilities, and that is Sharday Pascal could not be here tonight, but she is the person that will organize the materials that the agencies are required to provide to us, so that we know when we get audited, we will have everything we need. So this is another service agreement. And so we're asking or recommending that you approve for Gateway Family Services to work with Northridge
For the amount of,
school year.
for the amount of,
104,000, and it's like a little bit of cents. What is it? $104,500.
okay.
And he'll be in the school all year. And that cost might fluctuate depending on, he did share with me, like, if we don't have enough participants, like parent participants for something or whatever, we will not be charged the same amount. So that could fluctuate a little bit.
Okay. I know we have some questions. If we could get a motion so we can go on and ask the questions, I'd appreciate that.
I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have a few questions.
Yeah.
What other schools have participated in this particular program?
Currently, we have 7 schools that are starting this program with us. Rantoul High School, Rantoul Elementary, Georgetown has not confirmed the exact level that they want to be involved, but Armstrong Potomac, Salt Fork, and Judith Giacomo.
Okay. Location where it's going to take place?
It would take place at Northridge.
This will be on site.
On site, okay. Who'd you say is going to help us to drive the publicity and keep it so we let the kids know what's happening? And you said a name. What was her name?
Oh, Sharday Pascal.
Is that who's
Well,
organizing?
she will be the one that she's the person that organizes the data that the agency gives us.
Oh, okay.
As far as publicity goes, that will come from Gateway.
So I guess my question is, seeing how few people came to parent-teacher conference, I wonder how you plan to recruit or capture the attention of our very busy working parents Like, what do you think you'll do?
Some of that is going to be just being very creative in the time frame, also offering different ways that we reach out to parents, whether that's online, whether that's we're involved in some publications in the community to let parents know we have resources available for them. And some of that is just continue contact with the parents. We have 175 people on our waiting list right now. A lot of them are kids from Danville. And so reaching out to those parents who are already seeking services for us to say, hey, this is a way that we can support you while your child waits to get intensive services on site. We can provide this support for you this way.
And Ms. Bailey and I talked with Michael about that, and we wanted to be sure, like, he assured us it was a preventive thing. It was not necessarily to, come in and have clients. So it's more of a preventive tier 1 thing is the way we look at that he would be working with the kids at Northridge. And they do have 175 kids on their waiting list. So we're hoping that this way we can reach some of those kids in this way.
175 that already aware of your organization and have already shown interest.
Correct.
Wanting. I was going to ask, what about is it volunteer? It's nothing required. They are signing up, saying, I want to be a part of this, but it's not a mandatory thing for anybody.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
It's
And
not-
besides yourself, how much staff will be there at Northridge?
So we have, right now we have 4 therapists, and we are, after this meeting, hopefully being able to hire us another individual who'd be on as a therapist. So
So it could be 5 of you there?
mhm.
Okay.
We will be taking turns with those 10 hours to make sure that we are properly staffed for those groups.
Can you tell me more about how staff will be recruited for self-care? You said self-care days. What does that look like? I see there's 2 different days. Is that right? In the way it's proposed?
I can answer that.
Okay.
I can answer that. We
Okay.
talked with Ms. Brooks about this, and she would like to do it, if possible, on our half days, so that all of the staff could participate. If that is not possible, then it will be something that she will offer to staff.
What does it look like?
What does the training look like?
Mhm.
I'll let Michael.
So it'll be a mixture of self-regulation strategies, teaching ways to take care of ourselves, a mix of active participation in those self-care strategies, and a lot of that will be self-driven and guided, but with psychoeducation from the mental health side, from the therapists that are facilitating those groups.
Okay.
And you talked a lot about how to handle like certain discipline situations as well.
Yes, so we are trained in collaborative problem solving. If you remember at the beginning of the school year, I believe Dr. Stuart Avalon came, and we're trained in collaborative problem solving. So just working to help enhance those strategies, and how do we de-escalate situations, and how do we make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, because we know if we're not well, it's going to be tough for the kids to be well.
And one thing we did talk about with Ms. Brooks and Ms. Bailey, we wanted to be sure that what he was bringing in wasn't going to collapse something she already had in mind. So it's not a curriculum. It wouldn't be a curriculum. So we wanted to be sure that what she had in mind for the building, this would fit as well. And she agreed.
Does your program offer, we're hearing some concerns from the students and interacting with the staff. So your program, will that help even give information on how the staff and teachers interact with their students, and diversity and things of that sort?
Yes, and one of the things that we want to make sure is that we're also working to address how do you handle when those conflicts arise, that we can address those things with regulation, that we can handle conflict and not escalate the situation. We also are working on making sure that in everything that we do, that diversity is represented, that we have a variety of different people speaking, so that as a Caucasian male, I'm not the only voice that's being heard, that we're bringing other students, other people from different walks of life to be a part of this program. And that may not be that they're in the group, but we have video of stories of real life situations that we can share with the students.
So you're gonna have therapists there. Can you tell me, when you identify a student who's struggling with mental health issues or trauma, and how do you connect because you'll just be there for that little bit of time. What's going to happen next? How are you going to, what happens when you find that out, that there's a student or staff who has a mental health issue that needs sort of more intensive
More
time?
intensive. So that would be the part where we have some flexibility with another grant that we would actually be able to provide additional supportive services to all of those 7 schools that I mentioned earlier, that we could step in and do more intensive services in addition to the groups that we offered.
With parent consent.
Yes.
And there'll be a way to refer to our already on-site mental health people.
Correct.
If you notice something, like it's not just gonna be like its own thing. Somebody's gonna bridge the gap. How does that look?
Like working with the social workers,
Yeah.
or that's what you're?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes, I mean, well, they will be involved in the training as well. I'm sure that they would collaborate with this team, and Mrs. Brooks would have a plan for that.
What is a brain booster kit?
Yes, so.
That
if-
sounded so intriguing. I bet it's more than
the
this.
basic structure of the brain, and this except in the trauma community, is the brainstem, responsible for things that we don't think about: diencephalon, where am I at in space, and how has space impacted me? Limbic system, then neocortex. There are specific things that help regulate and reorganize that part of the brain, and so it will have a brainstem strategies. It'll have diencephalon strategies, limbic system, and neocortex, because we know our brain develops from the bottom up, inside out. So in order to help us regulate, we need to regulate from the bottom up and inside out. So there'd be things that you can do in the classroom. Several of you are squeezing the brain. That's just a regulation strategy that helps you calm down. There's different creative things that we can do while we're sitting in the classroom so that I can hear the teacher, be present, and keep my brain a little bit more organized.
The only other question I have maybe for Ms. Truex, where do you imagine that you're gonna do this at? In Northridge? Where do you think this will happen? In the gym?
Well, I
In a
can't answer
classroom?
that question. I could ask Ms. Brooks and get back to you. I don't think she shared with us. She will probably have a specified room.
Throughout our buildings, and I think Ms. Brook, they have a time set throughout right
An
now
SEL
this year.
time.
So it might be in classrooms, it might be in small groups, in a social worker's office, in a psychologist, it could be anywhere, depending on how those groups are set up. Sometimes we have lunch groups, when the kids come, it can be varied.
I just think about Northridge and I think about there's a lot of kids and not a lot of space, right?
Mm.
We'll have a schedule,
Sure.
we'll have a scheduled
Yeah.
SEL time. Again, next year we do this year.
Uh-huh.
It'll be a longer time next year.
Okay.
That will be, we have it on Wednesdays, middle of the week,
Mhm.
where it's SEL and it's building wide. So everyone is doing SEL at the same time. So that's going to be
Yeah, and that's where the clinical consultation with school staff and parents, when talking with Ms. Brooks, that's that SEL time, and she would like to have that dedicated like once a month to the gateway services. So she does have a plan in place, and I can ask her and get.
No, I just wondered where you thought it might go.
Yeah,
So.
I'm not the principal, so I don't know. I pay the bill.
Yeah,
I
thank
pay
you.
the bills, but
I just have one question. You said there was 100+ students that's interested in it at this present time?
In our services on site.
Okay.
In Potomac, yeah.
How large a group would you anticipate at the start?
So we're planning to start with 8 to 10 in each
Okay.
group.
Small
and then,
groups.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
Okay. Just a small comment.
question.
If I'm not mistaken, this type of piece is a huge part of what the push is for the next year and the last year. I mean, the reason why all this funding and all this coming out of pandemic and everything else. This is a huge. This would be a welcome to me.
Yes.
A very welcome that it's available. It's
Allowable.
here. Yeah, exactly. And integrates into our facilities. I think it's wonderful. If it fulfills what we think it will, this should be absolutely terrific.
And I will say, the State Board of Education did just put something out a couple of weeks ago saying, at first it was the 20% had to be academic. Now they're including social emotional. As you can see, Mr. Hart sends me new things like every day, that there are new monies out there
Yeah.
for a lot of different things. But social emotional right now is what I see when I'm on ISB. That's like what they are saying is super important right now.
Right. So, very timely.
This would definitely be an allowable expense, and we will be using ESSER 3 funds for this.
Mhm.
And it can be part of the 20% of the $32 million.
Okay, so just to recap, we're voting on gateway services for Northridge for the sum of $104, whatever it was.
$1,500.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what we're voting on.
Mm-hmm.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Gregor?
Yes.
Elder Park?
Yes.
Mr. Easton?
Yes.
Pastor Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Ashton?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I'm still up here for the next item.
Okay, good.
Come on up. I have now Odette Watson with me from East Central Illinois Community Action Agency. Odette is our one agency that does one-on-one private tutoring. This is hard to find. We are having a hard time finding private tutors, so I'm thrilled that we do have Odette's program. And she's been trying to grow that. She came earlier in the year in September and had a contract through May. She's only received one payment of her original contract because she doesn't have the students yet. So she did not want to accept more funds until she received more students. I just talked with her tonight, and we are going to look at how we can help with transportation possibly this summer. But Odette would like to just amend her contract to go through the summer at no cost to the district. We will just amend it to go through August instead of ending in May. And she's got some data for you, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what's been going on at Community Action.
Thank you, Ms. Truex. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, school board members. I just want to bring to your attention just some brief data on the children that we are serving. We're currently at 22 children. We have 6 tutors that are on the payroll, and we still have 2 volunteers. So we have a 1-to-3 ratio. Our attendance rate is not where we'd like to have it. It is 50%. 50% of the children come, but pretty much we will see them throughout the year. Throughout the month. What we do see with our older students, unfortunately, as much as we try to encourage them, when they get stuck in a particular area, they'll come to us. We work with them. We're pretty intense. When they get it, they're gone. So what I would like to do, and I've placed a request, is to get report cards. And these are for the older children, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th graders, the high school students. What we're finding is that the younger age levels, K through 5, we are getting them on a regular basis, but their struggles are a little bit more time sensitive, a little bit more listening to mom and dad. And for those parents who dedicate themselves, they are bringing those children almost on a regular basis. We do rely on parents to bring the children to the program because every time that the parent picks up the student, we discuss with them what we've gone over, what are the things that we need to definitely continue to work on. There are some families, because we are working with families that are within the federal poverty guidelines. We do serve the families in other capacities, so we are aware. So there is a little one that we had that was working really well. Mom had a set of twins, and we've not seen him in almost a month. So we see progress with the children that we are serving. However, I want to just let you know that there is data that I have for you, but it's for the younger age groups. But we hope to get some report cards on our high school students so we can see the effectiveness and the outcome of our high school students' grade and academic gains. So since we have started, we still are tutoring in multiplication facts, geometry, lots of fractions, long division, multiplication, extended multiplication, the long multiplication, we have added phonics. We find that phonics helps. Phonics is actually needed in all grade levels, but the younger ones are more open to it. I'm just being honest about it. But we have seen that all grade levels need phonics. Phonics helps with reading and comprehension. And then we've also added handwriting. We have had students that have gotten answers wrong, and because we have gotten to know them, the tutors know them, they have poor handwriting, horrible penmanship. We have to go back to the basics, even with our 4th and 5th graders, space the letters apart. This does not require a capital letter to start the sentence, and we have to go over those rules with them. We know that the pandemic has created pockets for some of our children, but then some of our children who are in poverty, who don't have the advantage of the parent that may be able to tutor at home, you find that the struggles are there. In the program, we are serving 5 students that are from a Hispanic heritage. 4 of them are in homes that the first language and main language is Spanish. We find that definitely there's some reading and comprehension transition that's still occurring. So we respect the first language because we know the first language will mean money for them later on in life, but we also need to still work with them intensely in understanding reading and comprehension, English, where to put the periods, where to put the semicolons, and we're still working with them. So the program, although I wish that we could do more children because we do require for the parents to bring the kids, what I see with those that we are serving is very good. So if you look at page 2, there is a chart where I've given you kind of a breakdown of what's happening with our kindergarten and our first graders. We do addition, facts with them. The average scores have been 100%. Sight word recognition, we're at 50% with those little guys. With our second and third graders, multiplication facts, most, or the average scores were 100%. Addition and subtraction is a worksheet where we time them, where there's a mixture of addition and subtraction, and they have to kind of switch back and forth in their brains what function to do based on the symbol. We're looking at 90% as the average score. Word recognition and comprehension, this varies. We have some, our Spanish-speaking students will 50% recognition, but we know that that's just a temporary transition. But then still for our other children, 78%. So we still need to work heavily in that area. Our 4th and 5th graders, multiplication facts, this is where they get the full gamut, where they have to understand all. And the goal is to take them up to 14 times. We just don't stop at 12. It's 98%. Fractions, adding, they do very well with common denominator. When we start subtracting fractions, we go bonkers. So we are at an 81 percentile still. Long division, that's fun. We put them on the whiteboard and we do speed testing and they compete with each other. We're at 86% because we're still working on multiplication. Opposite of multiplication, division. Word recognition, it's a problem. So I wanted to give you this data because my numbers don't look like the other guys, but the program is solid. It's working. We see the improvement. We've heard from parents. We've heard from some teachers that it's working, and that's what I wanted to present to you that we would like to progress on in the summer.
And this is
Thank you.
something too that with the ESSER money that is being pushed is tutoring, individual tutoring with academics, because there are kids that need that. So with the social emotional and the tutoring piece, they even have the Illinois Tutoring Initiative now. I mean, they are really pushing for these opportunities. So we would love to see Odette's program grow, if we could get more parents and more kids there. So she would just like to continue through the summer, with that's our recommendation, that you would let us amend the contract to go through the summer at no additional cost.
So the recommendation is to amend the contract, extend it through the summer,
Yes,
at no additional cost.
yes.
Which we always love. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I would love to hear a motion.
Well, and she's,
So
and just
moved.
so, I mean, there were 3 payments, and
Oh, I
she's only
guess I
had one
better
payment, just so
sustain.
you know, because she's,
Because
you
of
know,
the third, yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry.
I heard the motion.
But
Second.
I'm gonna have to sustain, I forgot, I'm on that board.
You can make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moved,
You don't have to abstain from that.
okay.
My second.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
We gonna bus them this summer?
I talked with Odette, and I just met with Project Success and the bus, Craig, the bus manager, and we're working with him on that. If she's interested in that, we
I
can
am.
meet
I am.
with Craig.
You
He's
think
been,
it's doable? You think we can do it?
John, what do you think?
Yes.
I mean, we're doing everything we can to
We
transport.
may have to adjust it a few times, but we
Yeah.
always seem to make it, you don't have as many drivers in the summer.
But he
Yeah.
definitely made it work for Project
And
Success for the
students,
summer.
honestly, they're good to work with. So
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
I met Craig for the first time this week. I was really impressed. He was very nice. And I met with Project Success and Craig, and they also liked him a lot. And he's gonna meet our needs for Project Success this summer. So I told Odette I'd be happy to set up a meeting with him, and see what we can do for her as well.
I have
Maybe
a
after
question
summer.
on the no cost. Since there were 3 payments originally, assuming we get the students up, will we be able to then remit those payments from the second and third
When-
payment? I mean,
The,
that's no additional cost, but I'd like to make sure that they get paid since they're doing the work.
well, one of the agency's responsibilities is to invoice us.
Mm-hmm.
So once she's ready to invoice us, we're ready to go.
Okay.
So that's what they do. They invoice us and we pay the bill. That's one of their responsibilities.
So, but we do not cut off our payment,
No,
because it's
no,
May. The
no.
payment can extend.
Right. Oh, right. If the contract goes through the end of August, yes,
Okay.
everything goes through the end of August. So,
Okay.
yes.
I
We're just changing the date, the term of or the time that we have them. So.
And then as far as the report cards, does this change that, or is that just something that's gonna be potentially changing on the administrative end of things?
Well, that's actually in the
I was
contract.
gonna say, I can speak to that.
Yes.
We provide report
Yeah,
cards
that's
for
not-
Boys and Girls Club for Project Success. So, I mean, this is just an addition. Soon as parents sign that we can
Yes.
send them.
It's actually in the contract that that's one of our responsibilities.
Okay.
That if the agency requests the report cards, it's our responsibility to get the parent consent and then get her what she needs. So now that she's made that request, then I'll get with Charday and we can get some parent permission slips and we can make that happen. We do that already. When I was a principal, like John said, we sent it to the Boys and Girls Club, we sent them to Project Success.
Perfect.
How do you recruit people, students? What do you
How
think
do you
you're gonna do?
Actually, it's been parents recommending their child. Actually, one parent will have a good experience. They're talking about it,
Okay.
and that's how we've built. It's been word of mouth. Different parents.
We'll have something that goes home for the summer to let them know it's gonna happen for parents, or
I'd be happy to. Actually, there is a flyer
Okay.
that we'll just share again, and you know,
Yeah.
it can go out. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Yeah.
yeah.
So, the biggest hurdle, is it getting more students or getting more tutors? Which one?
Okay, getting the transportation would give us more numbers,
Okay.
Pastor Miller.
Okay.
However, one of the models that strengthens the program is to be able to communicate with the program with the parent. You know, this is what we've gone over, and this is what we need more work in. And, you know, it encourages the parent to bring the child more and keep them aware of what the pockets are, you know, so that we can continue to work on them.
And then-
So with the busing, we do lose that piece, but I think that based on what we're seeing, we would get more regular attendance and I think push those children on a little bit further to even take on more.
I think at first you said, like, you were having a hard time finding staff, but now you feel like you've got some
Yes,
staff. I know you were having a hard time at first. finding
At
that.
first,
Mhm.
yes, we had two offers, and their employers offered more money, and we couldn't beat it.
Yeah.
So, but now we do have the tutors, there's a stability there.
The only other thing I wanted to point out is that you mentioned that you had high school students that were coming because they were missing something. They got the thing they were missing and then they kind of disappeared,
Right.
which doesn't sound good for the numbers. But the fact that, I mean, you kind of worked yourself out of a job in that case with that one student. That's really what we're looking for, you know, filling in those gaps. So even though it didn't show up in the data, but it was more in a conversation. I appreciate hearing about that and be encouraged because you're doing a great job. If you've got kids that are, the light bulbs are coming on.
Yes.
And also the handwriting thing. Thank you
Yes.
for taking that on.
It's nice to have a one-on-one tutoring agency. It's hard to find that, so we do appreciate that.
Okay, any other questions, comments? I'm amazed at the math scores, that is, and I'm dismayed by the word recognition. I mean, it's not, here, look, we're not gonna be too surprised, but we know that that's a problem. But the math, I'm going, wow, they took to that, so that, I applaud to you, whoever,
Yeah.
you got, that's pretty awesome. So let's approve this so we can continue on. So how about a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 Abstain? Can I vote abstain?
Yeah.
Just because I'm on the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that, I would have to abstain as well.
You don't have to. You can vote, but it's whether you want to. I would let you vote, but I'm going to keep you in though. Okay, so motion pass. I'm going to say yes, and motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4 ayes, 1 abstention. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 7C has been deleted. It will come back at a later time. That brings us to item number 8, new tech phase out. And it is a recommendation.
Good evening.
Please explain.
Good evening, Board. I'm Mary Ellen Bunton, the Director of Curriculum, and I have the illustrious Mr. Bretz from the high school. He was getting all kinds of, yeah. Mr. Bretz from the high school, and he's gonna talk to us a little bit about the phase out.
My sister got her doctorate this weekend, but not me. Good evening, board, Dr. Jacoby, Mr. Hart, thanks for having me. I'm Jacob Bretz, one of the assistant principals at Danville High School. I will try to be efficient but brief as I have many meandering notes on my paper here. So I will say bringing this recommendation to you is a little, I think necessary and probably the right time. It is a little hard for me as being one of the original teachers in the program as a young social studies teacher in 2009, 2010 at the time the program came in. Quick background, the New Tech program came in as part of the DHS house structure under the restructuring of the high school many years ago under the No Child Left Behind Act, and it is pretty much the last remaining remnant of that original school improvement effort. So what I'm here to recommend is actually a slow, intentional phase out of the program. Our contract runs on 2-year incremental cycle, so we are reaching the end of our current contract, so we have to make a decision. Do we pursue another 8th grade incoming cohort from Northridge, or do we begin to phase out the program while still servicing the needs of the existing students within the program? I do want to be very clear. This has nothing to do with teacher effort within the program, and even buy-in or affection for the program. I think in the memo I gave you, which I'll briefly touch on some of those points again, but not go too in depth, of just the larger factors at play that are a little bit beyond our control that are influencing the program in a negative fashion. And I want to be clear that none of the existing students within the program will miss out on what they signed up for and said they wanted to experience at Danville High School in terms of participating in the program in their core academic classes. So what we are proposing is not pursuing another contract with the New Tech Network, not recruiting another incoming 8th grade cohort, but then continuing to schedule out our current freshmen, sophomores, and juniors into the classes that we currently offer within the program. We offer our classes within the core academic subjects areas of math, science, social studies, and English, and continuing to offer those until those students matriculate through Danville High School over the next 3 years, with enrollment and staffing considerations being taken into consideration. As you could see in the enrollment data I gave you, we've run into a couple issues the last 4 years, both looking at the numbers of the kids who in their spring of 8th grade year say they want to do the program, to seeing a fairly precipitous drop, especially in the class of 2022 and 2023 and 2025, where they don't actually end up enrolling and coming to the campus as in the fall year of their freshman year. And then, of course, with those same classes, you see a pretty big overall drop to the kids, even from the kids that came to the high school to participate in the program, and how many kids we have now. I do also want to make it very clear the drop in enrollment is not due to the students within the program who are at Danville High School saying they don't want to be in it anymore. Not to put Ms. Corley on the spot, but she's had 2 students go through the program, and she's always been a big supporter, and I'm sure she's probably not happy that I'm up here right now. But it does make it hard to run a program where you feel like you're constantly trying to recruit and get kids into the program while doing the program right at the same time. I know, as you can see in the staffing, we haven't had a science teacher. We usually have 2 science teachers. We haven't had one. We were down 1 for the last 2 years. We haven't even been able to offer any science within the New Tech program this year because of the severe overall science teacher shortage at the high school right now, which we're still facing for next year, which has me a little worried. And then, as you can see in the cost of training new teachers who come into the program can be somewhat pricey, and to no fault of this particular teacher, I'm going to miss him greatly. He's been a great teacher for students at Danville High School, but someone that we trained this year, first year in the program, is leaving us. So like that, just using that as an example of the continual training, because it is a pretty big shift in project-based learning, and the way we assess our students is a pretty big shift for teachers. And it has also been a challenge for teachers kind of living and partaking in the department level school improvement efforts while still trying to maintain fidelity to the New Tech program, and many of them teach New Tech and non-New Tech classes, which it can be a burden for them as well. I did want to, a couple of things I wanted to add that I didn't put in the memo that I kind of thought of after the fact, but one of the main things about the program when it first came in was they were some of the first students even in the state, I think, to be 1-to-1 all the way back in 2009. Now all of our students have devices. Our students were really in on the ground floor with Google Drive and collaboration over Google Docs and doing projects together in groups, and now all of our kids at the high school have that tool and are proficient in that. And while there are some very aspects of the program that are very, very different and a major adjustment for teachers, there are a lot of the day-to-day based strategies that New Tech has come up with and that we try to implement within our projects really do align very well with AVID and the principles of AVID as well. And so I think that there's still components of the program that are very much going to be school-wide and continue to be pushed as part of the district-wide AVID commitment. And so kind of in summary, we are just proposing a non-renewal, just informing them we're not going to renew, and I do feel strongly in assuring that the staff we have been doing it long enough and are trained well enough that they will be able to provide the project-based learning experience through the New Tech model for the existing students as we phase it out. So I didn't want to go, hopefully I went in depth enough to your needs in the enrollment, staffing, and cost component. So at this point, if you had any other follow-up questions, I can do my best to answer them.
Okay, so your recommendation is to phase out
Over 3 years,
Over 3
continue
years.
to provide the experience to the
And
existing students within the
non-renewal of
building
the
and
contract,
just
yeah.
non-renew and not pursue an existing cohort.
Yep, got it. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I would have done it if you didn't. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
Yes. In the time period that I've been on the board, there's been, lots of new tech presentations before us. And one of the things that I was always very impressed with was the indicators of what I believe to be student success. That the students that went through the new tech program had really high success in all sorts of areas, whether it's, collaboration or problem solving and test scores and grades. And that is really more important to me than the fact that it's hard to recruit. And I do understand, and I know it's a challenge. And I know that, especially since the students in the program, that they're not really wanting to leave. And the program itself seems to still be robust enough. And one of the areas that is not broken, it's not broken. It doesn't seem, it just means from my view, it seems like it's just been hard to get it solidified because of things that are outside forces, not to do with our teachers or our administration or our students. And I would hate to throw this program, not throw it out, but I would hate to non-renew it when we have something that's working pretty well, when the issues are the outside forces. I would like to see the program stay. I think it is a really strong feather in our cap at DHS. And I think that, members in the community have felt the same way about it. I was surprised to see it come up. And that's not personal to you, Mr. Bretz. I know you don't like to be no one likes to be the messenger bringing bad news, or you, Mrs. Cherry, Ms. Cherry, or anyone. But I'll be voting no, because I really want the program to be able to stay. I think it's really important to DHS, something different that we do, something we've been successful with, and something that is worth spending. It is pricey, but we spend money on lots of things, and I think it's worth the money.
I just wondered if you, it's a comment and a question. I just sat through a very specialized interview, was set up for a position where I work, and we got ghosted. I know you know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't show up. There has to be some solution to being able to recruit people with specialized training like science teachers. I wonder if maybe we're
There, no.
The colleges aren't graduating science teachers, that's our issue.
right. That's what everybody says about the position I was just talking about that ghosted us today too. But I just wonder what schools are out recruiting us in science and math, and what are we doing? Is it our location? I'm thinking out loud, you don't have to answer. Do we have to work with the DEA to pay more? The position I had today was paying a lot, and I really wonder, wow. I just wonder, I'm gonna be voting no as well, because I think you should spend the money to do it, even if it's with shorter staff.
Who wants to say about why we don't have science and math teachers and things like that? Everybody,
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
I recruit, but it's everywhere.
Yep.
I remember a couple years ago, ISU, they had one person graduate from the science department. That was pre-COVID, so I guess it's been like 3 years. But what we're seeing with recruiting anymore, the money doesn't matter, especially this year. Money does not matter. And they'll look at me and tell me that money doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, when it comes to science and math, colleges are not graduating kids in science and math. Every school is looking for science. I shouldn't say every.
What's the problem?
More schools than not are looking for science and math. They're not there. Our science teachers will tell you they've waited how many years. I mean, this isn't a new program. It's not new since COVID. It's not new. There's just not science teachers. But we'll keep on trying. But It's just not, they're
And the
not.
licensing at the high school, you have to be licensed in certain areas. I think Dr. Ugobi said there's 6 different
There's
areas.
6 different science certifications, and if you don't have
You don't
a
meet
specific
the-
one,
you can't teach the
you
class.
can't teach the class. So it's not just science.
Right, the science thing's
Yeah,
hard
but
enough.
Governor
Right.
Pritzker made it a lot easier.
Right.
Our science department was hoping
Thank
that
you.
putting
He didn't take that away.
specific science,
Give
you know,
my purpose.
chemistry, like on our postings would help. But we also get the pushback from the applicants that say, I didn't apply because I didn't want just chemistry. I didn't, so, I mean, we honestly, they're not very rare to find, they're rare breed to find.
And the only other comment I would make, and I think the one that was most eye-opening for all of us, is you're absolutely right, Mr. Bretz. The pandemic escalated and sped up our kids' access to technology. What made New Tech fabulous was they had the laptops. They were doing the project-based learning. They got to learn in different ways. And really I call it evolution. We've evolved to this point. It's not that we're phasing out like the worst idea ever. If anything, I see the high school is evolved where all our kids are using learning systems, meaning learning management systems. None of our kids had access to that before the pandemic, but now they do. All of them do. Some of our kids didn't understand how to use Avid strategies. Now that we've really focused, and if you look at what New Tech did, it is very similarly aligned. More of our kids are getting that. So while I share, it is a bittersweet moment when you sit there, and as Mr. Bretz is up here, he's heart and soul and life of it. It's just evolution. We've evolved to a point now where our students need something different. And when they say different is because now let's take that our students have access to these things and let's focus on, and we've had conversations at the leadership level with Ms. Cherry, Mr. Bretz, and her leadership team about how do we strengthen our freshman academy to where our students are looking at the 3 E's. And there is it's a non-negotiable. Are you going to enroll into college? Are you going to go out and get employment? Are you going to enlist? Those are your options. That's what we need to be really strengthening and talking about. So it's really more of an evolutionary discussion rather than killing something, I think is what we have been trying to focus on.
But the organization that provides the curriculum is also adapting the curriculum. They're not discontinuing the curriculum, because you could purchase it for another year, right?
2 years, yes, sir.
So, I mean, somebody thinks it's working.
And with
Somewhere.
respect to that, I was a proponent of one-to-one since the first day I sat in one of these chairs. And so I was impressed with New Tech because of that, and have been pushing, pre-pandemic for us to be one-to-one, and nobody's happier than me. Well, no, lots of us are happy, but I'm very happy that we're one-to-one. But I don't see New Tech as just the tech piece of it. And I don't really see it as just being able to manage the software programs. The project-based learning meets some of those social emotional needs. It's built into the system, to the program of New Tech that we don't see in our silos in other areas of the high school. And that's, I would hate to throw out that the project-based piece of it, and I know it's extra work for teachers that have to teach and evaluate in different ways, but for something that seems to be working. And also I remember when we weren't one-to-one, and I was concerned about what was the condition of the laptops, what was the condition of, how do they come back? And what I was told was that the New Tech students, their technology, their physical pieces of technology were actually pretty well taken care of. At least at the time we were over in the other building, but so it was teaching some personal responsibility and yet the ability to work as a team and work collaboratively. So important to when we get out there into our world. I don't see that is really part of the foundation of what we're doing in the other classrooms. That's not a negative on your other teachers or the way that it's being taught. It's just not part of the program. It's different from Avid even. It's different. And that's, I just can't bring myself to vote yes for it.
And mostly, some of it is also just me wanting to be forthright with the state of the program. If we're talking about money being spent too, so.
Well, it's consistency too, because with our online program, we all use Google Classroom, because that's better for our parents, so they're not having to look at 3 or 4 different things, programs, and with New Tech,
Yeah, we went
it's a whole
away.
different
We went
system.
away from
And so we weren't using
that.
that during COVID. So we're spending $28,000 and we're not using that software.
To be
And
yeah to be
because we
consistent
need
for the
to be
parents
consistent,
with
because a parent may have one child in New Tech and another child in Viking Academy, and they're looking at 2 different systems, online systems. That's very confusing. So we were consistent with it, and the kids are, they're very, very familiar with Google Classroom, and we've worked the last 2.5 years to get them up to speed. But I agree with everything that you're saying, but I also feel like all of our kids should be like that. All of our kids should learn those skills and be able to implement those skills on a daily basis. That's where we need to move, and that's where we should be heading as far as building those skills in all students, whether it's New Tech, Viking Academy, Freshman Academy. That's the transition we need to make.
So, for those of you out there, I'm going to give you a little history lesson. New Tech was part of the old house structure, and we used to have a global house, New Tech,
ACE,
freshman, which is still the remnant. It's still the remnant. There was one more. What was it?
ACE.
ACE, oh, the arts.
Yeah, the arts.
Yes, and that's gone. The numbers in New Tech were much larger.
Yeah, there was a shift before I so I taught and then was in administration at high school in a different area, and then when Mr. Chambliss went to Salt Fork, I moved back. So there was a change in the structure when I was away, where prior it only served sophomores through seniors, and there was about 400 kids. Keeping in mind at the time the structure of the high school was very intentional to provide very different experiences, to all kids based on a house or academy that they chose. And then I don't know the exact year. I was not working with the program at the time. They integrated freshmen and condensed it to a target of around 50 kids per grade level, which did have, I think, the unintended consequence of teachers beginning to have hybrid schedules of New Tech and non-New Tech classes, because it did lower the overall enrollment or the target enrollment of the program. So that would be the reason why, as you're thinking back to the original inception of the program, why now there's less kids than before. And then if you didn't have kids that turn their sheet back in of what academy they wanted to choose, then they obviously had to be slotted somewhere. So to some degree, the numbers were higher too, both from recruitment and, well, you didn't turn in your sheet, you got to go somewhere. And so there was, for all the academies on, they were going to have higher numbers because that was the structure of the school at the time.
So I agree with Cherry that if we can cherry pick, if we do this, and we cherry pick the best practices, which is what we do anyway. Don't you all do that anyway? I mean, the things that you don't necessarily like, they're gone. But the things that we like, we incorporate. Well, I'm sure we would do that, because there are parts of the program that we really, like, I agree with you, that are successful and are great and that we'd like to carry on. But I'm one that goes, okay, sometimes we have to, I've fought for things before, and I'm going, the time that things run its course. This is one of the longest lasting ones I've seen, though, and to its programs, kudos for it. But I'm thinking, okay, there's several good reasons for it also. I could see why now might be the time to do so. So I'm kind of okay with it. So, any other comments? We'll find out in a second here. This is to phase out new tech over the next couple, how many years?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, so we're going to vote on phasing out new tech over the next 3 years. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Schrader?
No.
Mr. Easton?
No.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Elder Parks?
Based on Mrs. Cherry's comments, I'm voting yes.
Dr. Ash?
Yes, motion passes 3-2. Thank you.
Just to reassure too, so some of what New Tech does, they have an instructional framework that's like a key to kind of make sure that certain things happen in all of the classrooms. And that's something that we certainly can work together by combining what we have, all of our as different programs, and kind of put it together to help more teachers model those practices. So.
I have a lot of data mined stuff, you know, like
Mhm.
the rubrics, the collaboration rubric, oral communication rubric, agency rubric.
You said a training on those too.
Yeah,
This
so the learner-centered practice card set that they've developed that align with all of the learning outcomes that are part of the program. Because our kids, like, they have a collaboration that's 5% of their grade, agency, which measures like their mindset and like trying to teach them things like acting on feedback, responding to how do you respond to academic setbacks. Like I have all of those materials, and I've been interacting with the program for 13 of the 15 better part over a decade. So I've sufficiently cherry picked.
So am I hearing you, are you suggesting that that's something that you're now gonna ask all the teachers to do? In all the classes?
I think that there's components that we can do that with, and that's what we need to investigate next.
So the answer was yes.
I didn't hear a yes, but that's okay.
Yeah, I didn't hear yes either.
I think that it depends on the parts that you're looking for. If it's talking about collaboration specifically, that is a huge component of AVID. And so we've worked very hard over the last couple weeks. We've been in the building, our office has been in the building doing some training on bringing those strategies into all of the classes, and then helping teachers understand how to grade them using rubrics and feedback, which is a big part of New Tech. So it's kind of looking at the best parts of those and trying to get them into all classrooms, and I think it's a goal of all of ours.
And I can say, Shannon, that yes, we will be looking to do that. We started with Mary Ellen this year coming in, because at one point we had an instructional coach. We don't at this point, and so we've been working closely with Mary Ellen and her team, and they've been phenomenal in supporting our teachers and, providing them with best practices across the board, not, like, it's the same with AVID. We had AVID specifically for just certain kids, but then we realized that all of our students needed to be AVIDized, that's what we used to say years ago. And so now we're implementing it school-wide because it benefits every student. And there are a lot of strategies from New Tech that will benefit every student. And yes, we're looking to implement them school-wide.
Well, and I hope that's how it works. I hope that it's lifted for everyone rather than just taken away from some. That's my concern with the decision. But, particularly what Mr. Brett said about the mindset piece of it, that there was an actual way in the rubric to assess that intentionality and that mindset. Wow, what a life skill. I'm very hopeful that, I'd love to see some follow-up on that and how that's being implemented, hopefully without adding more to the teachers' plates, because their plates are so full.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick. I think there are small components of the program that very much are aligned with AVID that can be brought in to be supplemental to give teachers more tools in their toolbox. The program itself in its entirety is a very invasive, fundamental shift for teachers to make. And so like, you know, I would not recommend just be like, yeah, we're go to like, hey, kids seem to like it, just stay in the program, let's just make everybody do it. I would not recommend that.
Right.
Theater arts.
Okay. We have a course that we would like to bring to your attention this evening. It is something that we would not consider implementing until the following school year. So we would put the course description through now. We would spend next school year working on the curriculum and then bring it back in the following year if we're able to make the course happen because it's an elective and we could run it without hurting our core classes. And what's special about this course and a little bit different is that it's career focused. So we have a lot of students that are really interested in the arts, and this gives them a different perspective too, as it really focuses on the different types of careers that you can encounter if you go into an arts program at a college.
Great.
It's a first reading.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I said. Great. Onward.
Okay, so the last thing that I have for you tonight, and it speaks right into what Miss Odette was talking about. They're called flyleaf decodables. Decodables are used when first we teach students phonics, and then we have to. The students need to apply those skills into text. So if you teach them in isolation, a lot of times they don't carry over. So as Miss Odette talked about, we have a lot of students that typically by the time they get to 4th and 5th grade, their phonics are very solid, and we don't typically need decodable readers, which is how we make that transition to text as necessary in 4th and 5th grade. So this allows us to bring some 4th and 5th grade relevant decodable text so we can get the kids the phonics skills that they need, and it gives the teachers lots of options that they can use in their classrooms. I think did I say 4th and 5th and I meant 3rd and 4th? I'm sorry. Oh, and it costs $83,860.48 worth of decodable readers to help remediate learning loss, and this will come out of ESSER 3 funds. And it is a recommendation. Wait, yes.
Okay, so your motion is for 83,860.48 for decodable, for flyleaf decodable readers.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a contraption. Sounds like, ooh, I'm going to wear the decodable readers and I'm going to be able to.
Yes, they're actually books.
Books.
Yes, they're
Thank
books.
you. I mean, really, please
Yeah.
someone tell me what a decodable.
Yeah, they're books, and the words in them, they follow phonics skills so kids can easily decode them. They're not the tricky words that don't follow phonics words. That comes next. So this really helps them say, okay, if we're learning about vowel blends, then they'll get a lot of experience with vowel blends in the decodable so they can practice reading with those vowel blends in the actual word.
I'm going
So
to
the
go with
word
you. I mean, I can
recognition.
hardly understand a decodable reader, but they're going to be helpful.
Mhm.
And this
It's-
is
Yeah,
this is
it's
going to be
phonics
great.
code. They're decoding phonics. So they're decoding the codes that we use. And as we all know, it's a little bit tricky in English, our English system. So,
So move.
I have a motion. Want to have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for decodable readers. Any questions or comments?
I just have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go, either one of you.
When is the first time, thank you, when is the first time that our students, first grade, that our students learn phonics?
kindergarten, actually probably even before that. It starts with phonemic awareness, but typically you have to have that in place before you can learn the phonics, but we start in kindergarten.
So when we are assessing kindergarten readiness, and that's already really horribly low, is there anything that our preschool or pre-K is able to do toward that phonemic awareness? And just so that we don't get to this point in 3rd and 4th grade, or are
Right.
we at the pre-K level still at a kind of a stranglehold of things that we're just not allowed to teach?
A little bit. A lot of this is because of the pandemic that it's gone up that far to those grade levels. So that's part of it. The pre-K program has some constraints, but our solution that we came up with for next year is
The full day.
could alleviate some of that. But it's very appropriate for the kids in pre-K to play with words and word sounds and learn the alphabet, recognize letters. That is perfect. And kids that are exposed to those things at home, just even talking to the kids, kind of come in ready with that. As we talked about earlier in the school year, we're really looking at foundations. We've implemented that this school year, piloted it in some classrooms, and we're seeing the teachers, I don't think we have anybody here tonight that's, the teachers that are using it, we're seeing huge good things. So between that and letters, that should kind of help us remediate some of this backwardsness from learning loss. The other thing you have to remember is the kids had masks on, the adults that they were with had masks on, and that you learn a lot of sounds and phonics because you watch how the mouth works. So we're having to catch up with that too.
And one other question, with the birth to 3, which is I think the iGrow, as they get older, now that would be an area I would think as far as development that, and Ms. Truex may be able to help better with that, I don't know, where their the phonemic awareness may be able to be a part too. Is that present there? Is that something we can put in there? I'm just so concerned with our ability, where our kids are coming in, and then now we're trying to put years later these changes in place, these help points in place. But if we started earlier, we may not have. It doesn't mean I'm going to vote no for this.
No.
But I'm just concerned that it seems like it's part of a bigger problem.
The birth to 3, they help the parents sign up for the Dolly Parton book situation,
Yes.
so they get those books. They also talk a lot with the parents about talking to their kids and playing games with them, like just pointing out signs.
Yeah.
You know, all those things when you're in the grocery store, just talking, so they hear that. And I know that they do quite a bit of, yeah.
Yes.
Not screens.
And the pre-primers phonemic awareness.
Yes, reading to your child is what Ms. Truax just said, in case anybody's listening and didn't hear her because she's sitting in the back. Read. Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
All the way through K, but that's.
Less screen time or no screen time, lots of book time.
Less,
Even just
less
looking at the
screens, more
picture.
reading.
Yeah.
Single use, I assume.
No, they're great. They're usually in sets of about 6, and they're easy for the kids to handle, but they're durable. So a teacher would bring back a group of 6 students that are working on a vowel team, and then that whole book would have them practice the vowel team in reading. So that way they kind of solidify it. So I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I can't think of one right now, but it would be like you're practicing a specific skill, and then your sports are the best one. So you're up and you're practicing your swing over and over and over and over and over. And then when you get into the game, you read the pitch and you apply the swing to the whatever pitch you're getting. It's the same thing. So you're learning the phonics skills, and then you're putting them to practice with actual text, reading, words. I can't remember what she said, the word recognition.
So these books stay at the school. So the expense is in the science and how they teach it.
Yes, and just the amount of books that you need, because there's a lot of vowel teams, there's a lot of digraphs, trigraphs, and so they practice all those things individually or in combination too. But
2 other questions. How many kids did you pilot it with?
the decodables, we've had decodables, different types of decodables for years. They work really well.
Okay.
This particular group of decodables we liked because they're low-high, which means that they're relevant to students that are older, but they practice the skills that they need that aren't typically students in 4th and 5th or 3rd and 4th grade might already be beyond.
Do you think, the last question, you say some students, if you had to like put a pulse on reading, are you alarmed? Or is it what you expected?
I think.
Or is it like, are we in big trouble when we get the scores?
No, we're not in big trouble.
Okay.
We've got wonderful teachers that can work to do this, but it's going to be a lot of hard work. The fact that you guys let us get letters for our teachers is gonna be huge. That training, we've got a lot of our elementary teachers, and now all the way up through high school teachers are taking that course, which is huge. So that in combination with foundations, we're already doing Hegarty, which is phonemic awareness, and that is like the gold standard in phonemic awareness. We're bringing that up to higher levels, putting in foundations next year for everybody, and having it available to the older grades. And then we've got some interventions in place that are great for even older kids that might still need that support, and really focusing on that next year will help us move forward.
Thank you.
There's a plan.
Thank you. So we're gonna vote on decodables, which for 80-something thousand, $83,648. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0.
Thank you.
Our scores are just gonna go crazy.
Okay, so we had to remember
I'm not saying that because I always get a reaction.
that always makes me nervous because it's going to take a minute. So usually 3 years is a good, but we want this. Hopefully, will fix faster. We're really excited about some scores that we saw. The teachers are just taking the end of the year assessments, and the ladies that work in the curriculum office are already digging through the data, and we're seeing some really positive signs in some teachers that implemented these things early. And so, yes, I think we will see some growth.
There you go. I like positive
Yes.
signs. That's
No,
good.
yes,
That's-
positive signs that we're gonna see some, just not pressure.
Which is code for be
Yes.
patient.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item number after flyleaf decodable readers. I just love that, saying it. 9A. Oh, I do want to hear about this. Restraint, timeout. I find myself in this sometimes. And isolated timeout reduction plan. I haven't been in that yet. So this is going to be fascinating. What do you have for us?
Good evening. Again, Molly Bailey, Director of Special Education. Public Act 102-0339 required the district to create an oversight team to develop this plan that will include procedures the goal for the Illinois State Board of Education's goal is to eventually reduce and eliminate the use of physical restraint, timeout, and isolated timeout in schools. Our progress has to be reported to ISBE annually, and this plan is due to them by July 1st. In the plan, you can see that we pulled together a team representative of several different staff members throughout the district. This isn't something that's brand new. A few years ago, an article was written, a public article was written, and it kind of exploded. And so we've been working on this for the past 2 school years. So kind of what we've done now is put all those things we've been doing into a plan. It's working to create that more positive culture. All the things we've already been talking about tonight with SEL and giving people other strategies. And so those have been listed here. And also just a little bit more of a plan for if you are restraining students, what do we need to do after that? We need to meet as a team and talk about what could have, did we do something, did a staff member say something that triggered a student? Did we not respond in an appropriate way, or is there a different thing we could try? Are there proactive measures that we could do? So we made some kind of notes and just a guide for our staff that they can kind of quickly but efficiently meet and discuss these things because they're important, but at the same time, we already know there's a lot on their plates. So it will be, I think this is your first reading, so and then once approved and we send it to ISBE, it will be put on the website so everyone, parents and the community can view it.
Any questions, folks? None? Okay.
Thank you.
We'll have more next time. Item 10A.
Good evening again, Kim Paps with HR. I am back again with a couple things. The first one is a memorandum of agreement for first reading. This is, MOA is aligned with the updated statute regarding licensed staff and evaluations. So basically, just a quick rundown, when we look at the evaluation process going forward, again, to align with the new laws that are coming out, all non-tenure evaluation schedules for evaluations will remain the same. And then our accelerated tenure status will remain the same, which is the same as what the law states. Any tenured teacher who receives an overall rating of needs improvement or unsatisfactory will remain the same, which currently is every other year or yearly, depending on if they're unsatisfactory. And then a tenured teacher who does receive proficient or excellent, what we're allowed to do going forward with your approval, obviously, is evaluate every 3 years. Again, they have to have proficient and or excellent ratings to go from every other year to every 3 years for evaluations. And again, this does allow us, we put more into place in terms of observations and than what the state says we have to. We kept those the same as what they currently are. It's just the time of the evaluation will extend 1 more year for anyone proficient and excellent. And again, this is just first reading. Good. Any
Well,
questions?
it's first reading. Do you
It's
have any
just first
questions
reading.
on
Any
that?
questions?
No?
Pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Okay, the next one I have is the administration summer school compensation. As we know, at the last board meeting, we took instructional staff up to $30. Our administrators make previously about the exact same as that, so we'd like to give them their hourly rate starting this summer.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second for administrators' summer school compensation. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Elder Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Easton,
Yes.
Mrs. Schroeder,
Yes.
Pastor Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Ashton.
Yes, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11A, 2021 and 22 auditors recommendation. You have a recommendation for us.
I do. Good evening, board, Danville 118 family. I am Narcissus Rankin, Director of Business and Finance. And this evening, I have a recommendation for an auditor for the FY22 fiscal year. Clifton Larson has completed our annual audit for the last 6 years, and this has allowed us to develop and maintain a really good working relationship with him. They have provided us with a quote of $57,750 for the FY22 financial audit. So this will be a 5.5% increase over the total cost of last year's audit. And this increase is due to new auditing standards and additional funding received, which is ESSER. We will continue to follow the 90-day recognition period. And then additionally, there will be a 5% technology fee to cover costs related to cybersecurity. And so it is my recommendation this evening that we continue to use Clifton Larson Allen LLP for our 2021-2022 audit.
So I have a recommendation for approval of, for Clifton Larson for use of the audit for total fee would be, is it $57,750?
Yes, sir.
So move. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? I think they did well. I think, okay, I hope we approve it. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Schroeder,
Yes.
Elder Clark,
Yes.
Pastor Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Easton,
Yes.
Dr. Ashton.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item number 12, modification of Burma Trust Agreement, which I'll discuss. If we have a motion to do this, what this is about is an agreement with the the First Presbyterian Church came to us, and they have a trust, a Bremer Trust, that they work with that dispenses funds to them. As part of the trust, they consult with, historically, the high school principal, the Danville High School, to help pick out whoever their scholarship person is going to be from this trust. And what they've asked is if they could modify the trust so that the high school principal does not have to participate in the selection of the scholarship applicant, because they say it's one less thing that the high school has to do. They correlating time together. It would just make it easier for their church and their trust department or whatever who's working with it to administer this the Bremer Trust. So they asked if we would modify the agreement. They gave us agreement to sign, and we have to sign it, and then the principal of the high school has to sign it, and then they could dispense of the funds as they see fit. So I would entertain a motion for approval of that.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Schreier?
Yes.
Elder Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Easton?
Yes.
Pastor Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Evans?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Item 13, ownership and education. First reading.
Yes, this is, good evening, board. I'm Dr. Beth Jacoby, Assistant Sup for Secondary Ed, and with me are my backup singers, Ms. Robin Fluno and Ms. Betsy Porter, and it's that time of year again for OIE, Ownership and Education. For those of you, OMG, OIE. For those of you at home watching, Ownership and Education is our discipline handbook. Every year it is reviewed. Every year we have several meetings, invite anyone who wants to participate on the committee. Now that we use Google Classroom, we've had quite a number join us, which we like it because it gives us a lot of perspective. I know you have a memo in front of you, but very briefly, we had 4 meetings, February 24th, March 17th, April 21st, and May 12th. What you have is a summary of changes, a markup. I always give the board the actual red line markup. It's 47 pages of fabulousness you can read through. Again, it's a first reading. But just to highlight some changes or things that we are recommending as a committee. And again, teachers are on the committee. We had parents serve on it. And I'm trying to think, we have community members? I think the first meeting we might have had a few. But cell phones, big discussion this year. We put out a survey, surveying parents, surveying staff. Guess what? We are at total opposite ends of the universe. Every parent wants their child to have a cell phone at school. Committee's like, okay, fine, they can bring them. But the committee overwhelmingly felt, nope, to be consistent, we are a school district. The kids are there for school. They may have their cell phones on them, but we are not changing the verbiage from what we have had forever. Cell phones must be out of sight and not utilized during school time, during classroom time, during teaching time. We absolutely went back and forth. We looked at the data. And we had parents that absolutely said, I want my child to have their cell phone. It makes me feel safe, but I get it. We don't want it to be a disruption. So we went back and forth, but the committee overwhelmingly said page 7 is staying the way it is. We also added that cell phone usage in the definition, that if individuals or students use their cell phones to video violent behaviors, they should be considered for discipline under inciting others to violence. Because what's happening is our students are using their cell phone to videotape perhaps violent fights and then airdropping it to everybody in the school. Even if the student doesn't even want it, they're getting it just by virtue that they have a cell phone. So if you notice, the verbiage in that says they may be subject to discipline. Students who refuse to follow cell phone usage guidelines may be subject to insubordination in its consequence. And then page 9 reflects what Mrs. Bailey was talking about. We had to change that to reflect that in the timeout and physical restraint language, we updated it to say the district is committed to utilizing proactive and positive interventions to occur prior to any instance of physical restraint or timeout. Page 10 was updated, assault and battery. We've had discussions back and forth. Assault and battery is a police term. It is a legal term the police use. In school code and in schools, we have to report physical attack. It's either physical attack with injury, physical attack without injury. Committee discussed it. While a student's discipline record can indicate if a student, and we have to now document all police interaction in the discipline document, if a student is arrested for assault and battery, the discipline file can reflect that. But as far as our discipline codes that are in our system, it's physical attack with or without injury. And last but not least, just Article 5 was updated to remove assault and battery out of the OIE. And then also consequences were updated to make grades 7 through 12 the same consequences for cell phone usage. Additionally, we discussed a cell phone usage contract. Champaign uses this. Other districts, and I can't remember off the top of my head, feel free, you're my doo-wop girls, jump in.
Mr. Vogel, who was going to be here tonight, he worked on this cell phone contract and he utilized other districts' cell phone contract. And then the last meeting, we pounded this out and to make it more useful for us so that the verbiage in our contract also matches the verbiage in the ownership and education. So it's just something that really draws the parent and the student's attention to the cell phone policy, so that they know exactly what the expectations are for cell phone usage, because quite frankly, I spend a large majority of my day dealing with cell phones each and every day, so.
And one piece that we added to the contract is an education piece. There are a lot of students and parents that don't realize when you videotape without a person's permission, you are violating the Illinois Eavesdropping Act. All of our buildings now have signs that very clearly state there is no videotaping, no picture taking, no audio recording. And this is just an educational piece that's in the contract. A lot of our kids didn't understand it and or their parents. So, again, it's a first read. We're here to answer any questions, but the board is in possession of the draft contract, the memo outlining the changes, and then the 57 million pages of markup. So we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Only question I
You
have.
gotta have one, eh?
The only question I have, Dr. Jacoby, is when I talk to some of the teachers at parent-teacher conference, does it allow teachers to incorporate the cell phone if it's a part of their curriculum in some way, or is it forbidden no matter what?
You may.
Now that all of our students are equipped with one-to-one devices, there would really be no need for them to use their cell phones, because each student is given a school device, so there would be no need for the student to use a personal device.
I think some of the teachers I talk to might disagree with you, but I hear what you're saying.
But the conversation was held, Mr. Easton, as far as teachers were discussing with other teachers.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways. You can't. It
I
doesn't.
agree with what you're
doesn't
saying.
work
I just
that way.
wondered if the policy doesn't reflect that really the way it's written.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, it does not reflect
The only other
that.
thing I wondered is, and this isn't gonna be able to get solved with this, but some of the schools in Illinois, and we learned this at our board meeting, training, are figuring out how to alert students of emergencies by getting their cell phone numbers so that they can alert them when there's, for example, actual active shooter kind of things happening in the community. I just wondered what we would need to spend to have that capability and if we've ever considered it.
We already have that capability.
But
Our
we're not-
crisis.
We're not doing it though, right?
We are not doing it. Crisis Go is what we have, and that is our messaging. We do it within our staff. We have to revisit it. Pandemic kind of put us all in a different mode, and we've discussed that we need additional training. We absolutely, though, could have the capability to alert our staff, our students, our parents. I know some of you, your crisis go once upon a time went off in the middle of a store when someone was testing it. So, anyway, we do have that capability right now. We need to revisit it, reutilize it. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
another piece of security. Oh, no. I maybe missed it, but what was how does the protocol for my first and second violation of phone thing? You kind of mentioned it, but I want it really kind of clarified, so when it gets out there,
Right.
how does this work?
Sure. So and typically board, we don't really have issues truly to a huge extent in grades, obviously kindergarten through 4. We start getting instances in 5th and 6th grade, but typically students are directed to put it away, put it out of sight, and we don't have issues. Grades 7 through 12 is when we start really having issues. So on the first offense, the student will always get a conference, always a verbal warning. Come on, I asked you to put the cell phone away, put it away. There's no harm, no foul. I asked you to put it away. If the student refuses, that's insubordination, that's a different discipline. So that's the first time, I'm your teacher. Now we're in 2 days later, student's doing it again. Second offense, we basically confiscate the phone, call home and say, we need to talk because I've asked, they know the rules, they know the routine. I'm gonna give you back the phone, but I need you to help me, parent, guardian, help us support our kids in the classroom by explaining why it's important that they're not using their phone during school time. Repeated offenses, and again, go back down to, again, everything's on a case-by-case basis with discipline, but it comes down to insubordination. We have rules, they exist. I'm sorry, you may not agree with them, but they exist for a reason. And we need all of our families to support us.
So at no time we take a hammer to the phone?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would rather turn it over and just say, keep it home. And if you can't physically regulate yourself, just keep it at home.
What
So
about,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pastor.
what about, I'm passing to the next class, can I have my phone down? I'm in the cafeteria, can I have my phone down?
No.
Okay.
When you talk about the first offense, is that per teacher? Because in 7th through 12, they're passing and there were different teachers. So what I'm hearing, I think, is that someone could have 6 first offenses as they go through each
Right,
day.
and the expectation would be is when you see those rack up in our,
It would be documented
It'd be-
in,
go ahead.
next year it would be documented in teacheries for Northridge because Skyward's difficult. But it would be documented, so then anyone who has that student, or if they would be directed to the office, we all have access to teacheries. So then we would see that Dr. Jacoby already talked to little Shannon about her phone, and now the next period, little Shannon has her phone out in my class. So little Shannon's been very naughty, and so now she's already moving to the second offense on the first day. So that way we are all on the same page with it. We keep it all of the discipline in one place.
And will
we
that be at the
rec-
high school also, that the teachers will be able to see what's happening in the other classes?
They
'Cause I-
can now.
I don't think that's happening now.
And I can absolutely explore that, but I think the other thing we talked about as a committee is we have to be consistent. Our staff needs to be consistent. And the consistent application of rules is a struggle, particularly in larger buildings. But if we are consistent and consistently support it, and we're going to truly, really, out of the gate, hit it hard over and over and over again, and I think that's the other thing is with the contract to constantly go back to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything? First reading, we'll bring that back later. Okay. Item 14A, press policy 108, recommendation. I'll do it.
I was gonna say that's.
What? You could do it too. This is policy 108. We've already, we've had this, if you wanted to look it over. I would entertain a motion for approval of the policy.
So move.
Second.
And I got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Anyone want, I got an update, but we don't really need to know that there's all sorts of really cool things in. There's a consular gift band in here. There's a hairstyle about hairstyles in there. And the coal tar sealant disclosure. So there's all sorts of cool things, but it's really, it's just a bunch of housekeeping things. It's really nothing really terrible. It just makes things a lot cleaner. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes 5-0. Very good job. There are no informational items, and there is no superintendent comments because she can't comment if she's not here. So board comments, we did left last time. We're gonna go right this time. Right to you, Mr. Easton.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you again to our teachers and our students. Congratulations on the class of 2022. If I don't get to talk to you in person, I'll see you at graduation and wave at you. It's been a learning curve for me on the board. And so just thank you again. Dr. Geddes isn't here, but I thank you for everyone on the board that's helped me learn how to get through this learning curve. And I really wish we could find a way, Dr. Ashton, to pay for like the entire way of science teachers or something. And I know you do too. I know you do too. But I really.
Yeah, I'd love that.
And if I was allowed to speak freely, I could give lists of people for the Department of Corrections as well that we're trying to hire. But I can't speak freely about that right now. But really, really great job, teachers. Really great job. I know I say that a lot, but I admire you. And again, my kids are going through this school system with great memories, great teachers, great friends. So Danville is a great community. If there's a future teacher watching, Danville's a great place to live. Pick any part of town. I think it's great. So that's all from me.
Thank you, sir. Jen?
I had two things. I wanted to thank our board secretary, Lakeisha Robinson. She put together our staff retirement dinner between the last board meeting and now, and she did such an incredible job. Just making sure that our retiring staff were honored, and it was a beautiful evening, and I'm very grateful for you, and we would be lost without you. So thank you for all your good work. She says, I know you'd be lost without us, without me. I also wanted to thank the Danville Rotary, the Danville Noon Rotary. Our FP, our future problem solvers, or state winners, our DHS kids are state winners, and they're going to internationals. And the Danville Noon Rotary gifted them $2,000 to help with their trip. So that was massive. Yes. So thank you. And that's all I have.
That was very good. We could have used a little bit of air conditioning though at the board retirement dinner. Pastor?
Just again, I'm going with Mr. Easton again. Thank all of our teachers, administrators. We are approaching the end of this school year, and just like to thank you for all your hard work and all you're doing to continue to make things better for our students. And thank God for the parents that support our students. And again, we're going to continue to do our very best to help improve within our school district any concerns that our students have and parents have. And we will continue to work hard to improve our district on all levels. So again, thank you tonight. Thank you.
I will not belabor the point. I just want to say ditto to all that they've said. And again, thank you all for just a marvelous year. and I know it has not been easy. But you've hung in there, and that's the most important thing. And we realize that because of you hanging in there, it has reflected on the students. So to God be the glory for the work that you all continue to do to make this district what it is. From Dr. Geddes to Mr. Hart to Dr. Jacoby, and even the board president, who is very comical at times. And we thank him for his unique humor.
Thank you, sir. Okay, yes, we've thanked everybody, and I'm gonna thank you again. This is the end of the year. We're getting to the end of the year, and I think it's miraculous that we made it through this year. Between staffing concerns, look, administration, teachers, buses, food service. I'm going to leave someone out, but that's the drill is it's everybody. And you guys have showed up this year, and you guys have covered this year. All of you in this room, everyone in this room has done a job that you didn't really do in the beginning of the year. You've stepped out and filled up someone else's job, every one of you. So all of us actually, but for that we appreciate that. Yes, it was Teachers Appreciation Week, I think the week before or whatever else. Thank you, teachers. That's awesome. I probably owe a bunch of people a lot of pizza. But really, a tough year, but you made it through this year. Almost. I mean, yeah, but I'm going to extrapolate out the last 1/10 of the year and say we're probably going to make it because it's the good part. This is the gravy part. So thank you, everybody. Lakeisha, again, thank you for the board retirement. They're right. It was great. You did a really good job. Yeah.
I want to thank also Steve, who's been sitting over there very quietly and interviewing folks from time to time. And so we appreciate you being here. Oh, you bet you.
You think that'll get you a kind word? I know him. But yeah, we agree. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, let's not bring that into it. But anyway, so we thank everybody. We're looking forward to graduation. And with that, we don't want to be here any longer. So I adjourn the meeting now. Enjoy yourselves. And thank you. Have a good night.